Hey guys, it's Scar here from theScore eSports here with a very interesting interview with Riot Azael, one of the new casters in for NA LCS this split. Or I think you may have started a little bit before then, but could you kind of explain who you are and like exactly your kind of background?
So I've been doing esports stuff for a long time. I actually started playing professional World of Warcraft at like the end of 2007 for EG. I was with EG for a really long time, up until like I guess the beginning of 2015 or something. I've done a lot of different stuff in esports, from tournament organization to being a pro player, to casting for StarCraft, Warcraft, Hearthstone as well. So I've kind of done a little bit of everything, and I just became like ridiculously addicted to League a couple of years ago. Started working at Riot, doing kind of more game balance stuff. Did that for a bit over a year, and the guys have been kind of expressing some interest in me doing some casting, and here I am.
Oh, I actually didn't know that you were doing game balance before casting. Was that something you were like really interested in doing, and it just so happened that you wanted to cast more, or something that it just that you had to choose at the very end?
I was actually really interested in learning about kind of like the game development side of things. Not that I was actually the one like making all the decisions or anything. I was on playtest teams, so helping work with the designers and do a lot of this. But it gave me a lot of insight into like what goes into actually making the game. It gave me a lot of respect for game designers, and I think also like helped to really teach me a lot about the game, and learn some of the reasonings behind a lot of the changes and things like that. So it's something I really enjoyed. And as far as swapping over to casting, I had another job offer actually within development to work on kind of like the esports development team that was doing stuff like world's icons and all the kind of esports features stuff. And I got offered a casting job at the same time, so it was like this horrible decision where I wanted to do both but I couldn't. And I just knew that esports is something I've loved my entire life. I knew that I would have fun doing it. And the other job, while it was an amazing opportunity, I wasn't sure that I would love it. This is something I just knew I would love, and I ended up going with that.
Oh, I mean, how's it been treating you so far? Is it still exactly what you expected? You just love doing casting. I know you've been around casting for a bit, under a year. So how's it worked out so up to this point?
Yeah, I mean, I've done casting for a long time for other games, but for League, very new. I think I've loved it. It's great. It's pretty much a cool experience because in the past, like with casting Blizzard games and stuff, you don't really get the opportunity to kind of like work on your craft, so to speak, day to day. It's much more of you're a contractor, right? You come in for a tournament, then you go home, you do something else. There's not like enough as far as like being like a full-time employment, working with the same casters and stuff. So I think it's a very different environment here at Riot, which is cool because you get the opportunity to work with the same set of guys, not only just on the cast on weekends, but throughout the week, and kind of like hopefully improve as a caster and improve like synergistically and stuff. Whereas at other tournaments, more like show up, you're just with some guy, and then you do your shit, and then you leave. It's like you don't really get the chance to kind of like work at it and try to improve.
How would you say that the Riot production crew compares to others that you've worked with in the past?
Well, I'm not trying to put anyone on blast, but I think that Riot is definitely a cut above. I think it's a lot of that is because they do it year round, right? It's something that there's a lot of focus on for Riot. Blizzard, a lot of those guys are excellent. I've worked with a lot of those guys in the past, MLGs, IEMs, and BlizzCon, etc. And they do a fantastic job. I think one of the things that gives Riot an advantage is because they're always in the same place. It's in our studio. It's not like a traveling show, which I think is very difficult to do. And we have the luxury of bringing in all these super talented people who like kick ass at their jobs and have done it in traditional sports or in other realms, and can kind of come in and teach people more about it, which is really cool.
Okay, so as a caster, you have to classify a lot of players very specifically. You have to say, oh, this player is an aggressive player. This player like is more passive style, more herbivore style. How would you classify your own casting like stereotype or like kind of class? What would you say are your biggest strengths and your so-called weaknesses?
Um, I think as far as my strengths, I think that I know a lot about the game. I've spent a lot of time, watching the game, playing the game, not to the level that you or the pros play, but I've played a lot of games competitively. So I have some insight into that, and just have spent a ton of time learning about the game. So I think that like my game knowledge is probably one of my strong points. And as far as like weak points and stuff, I think that there's always lots to improve on. One of the things that I've always been kind of shit with is just I haven't really thought about things like the pacing of your cast, how fast you talk, and using different words and stuff, and like variety in your vocabulary. Things like that were not something that I ever really like got feedback on or worked on in the past. So that's something that like the really good casters here, like the color guys, like like Kobe and Jad and everything, and people are giving me feedback on, which is really cool. So I think that's kind of my weak point, and something that I'm trying to get better at, just being more eloquent, having better pacing, more variety in my vocabulary, that kind of stuff.
Outside of the constant casting week by week, what do you do outside of the cast to really improve your craft? So I know that in the past, Riot used to do improv classes with all the casters. And I think that now that's done away right now. Is there anything that you guys do together or you do individually that's not just, week by week casting?
Well, I mean, we do practice cast, which is obviously the same kind of thing. A lot of it is just talking about the game. Like, I'm pretty close with like a lot of the guys, and we kind of watch a lot of odds together. So it's like VOD review stuff, talking about what we think is going well, what we think is going wrong. Because a lot of as a color caster, a lot of what your job is just knowing what to say, right? It's analysis and stuff, and a lot of that is just game knowledge. So watching the game, playing the game, that's kind of stuff that I'm putting a lot of time in. And as far as the pacing stuff, there are like some kind of like vocal exercises you can do and things like that, that kind of tongue twisters and so on and stuff like that. But we're not doing the improv classes right now. And mostly it's just collaborating. And honestly, through the week, we don't have a ton of time because Challengers Wednesdays, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is LCS. Thursday, we're usually like prepping and stuff. And then also on Wednesdays, there's like PTL stuff. So people are doing work on that, on those kind of segments. So it's not a ton of free time right now.
I've always wanted to know, do you request specific caster combinations? And if so, or if not, who's your favorite caster to work with?
We don't actually. So it's all just scheduled for us at the start of the week. You're just like, here's the caster assignments. You're doing this with that guy or whatever, right? So right now they're just kind of trying to move it around a lot, I think, especially because, Pastry, Dom, myself are all like newer as far as LCS. So seeing like who works, who doesn't, like, and getting experience with different people. I also think that there's like a lot of benefit in casting with different people because you can learn different things from them and their styles and stuff. So right now there's no like particular assignment. As far as a favorite, I don't really know, man. That's such a hard question.
What really? They like you're not putting them on blast. You just got one like maybe slightly preferential person you like casting with.
I honestly can't really say. I think that there's parts I like about the different casters. It's like when I cast with Freak, one of the things that's really fun is because he has a lot of game knowledge, right? Compared to like, the other guys have game knowledge, but Freak is like a high rated player himself. He studies the game a lot, and has a lot to offer in that way. So that's really fun. And then when you're casting with guys like, Pastry and Riv and stuff, they bring like a lot of hype and they're just like really funny and stuff. So, there's advantages casting with everyone.
With a very political answer. Any final statements you want to make? Anything you want to throw out there?
Nothing too much. Thanks a lot for your time for the interview, and hopefully you guys are enjoying the casting, and I'm always open to constructive criticism, so hit me up.
You heard the man tweet a lot of your remarks at this guy. It's Scarra here from theScore eSports. You can find more content online or on our mobile app. Thank you guys. Hope you guys have a nice night.